My name's David Newell. I'm from Specialist Autism Services. I'm the development manager, and this is Thought Bubble 2018, Britain's biggest comic arts convention, which takes place here in Leeds, kind of dominating the city centre for the weekend of the 22nd and 23rd of September. We started working with the Thought Bubble team probably about 5-6 years ago, to look at making it slightly more autism approachable, because they realised how popular comic art and comic work is with people with autism, and also how they long to express themselves quite often through that format. So very generously, the Thought Bubble team allow us to run our information stall. We have members' artwork, which is just to the side of me here. We usually have about 45 to 50 members come along. Some of them are selling their artwork upstairs, some of them are published authors, so they've got their books on sale, and it's kind of like a little bit of a safe haven for people to come along. So yeah, we always find it a very, very interesting event, and certainly within our members it gives them the opportunity to dress up, to cosplay within a very safe and nurturing environment. So it's always kind of like hugely popular.
We have a group at Bradford who do the comic workshop, and I think it's a really good way for them to express their emotions and feelings, and it's almost like going into a different world where they feel like it's a safe space to express themselves creatively.
I run an art group on Mondays at SAS in Bradford. This is a comic book that we produce, and these badges are characters from the comic book. And a lot of the members are kind of very into sort of Japanese culture, manga and anime. So they wanted to do like a manga style comic book with like a British lilt to it. And this is what they've produced. This is issue 1 and 2, and we're currently working on 3 and 4. So they created their own characters and wrote the script sort of together.
No, it's not something that should be they should feel bad about having. It's actually a lot of people consider it to be a bit of a gift to have as well. It's something that a lot of people in the creative industry look for in people sometimes, because it's a very unique thing to have.
So for you, it's a superpower.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I tend not to focus on my autism as much. I just focus on the creativity really. Not the fact that it comes from my autism, more to the fact that I have this ability. I'm going to use it to its fullest.
It's kind of a combination really, because I think because I've been in my own world, I get to have a wild imagination. So even when I was a kid, I used to do drawings and I used to write. So like I said, I think it's very helpful for when I have to get into the zone of creative writing. I mean, obviously I need, things to spark the ideas, whether it's watching films or something that's happened in my life, but usually once the spark happens and I can get rolling in it. Also, having friends to help co-write this with as well is very handy as well.
I think it's quite often the fact that it's like laid out, it's there as a story. It's kind of like a strip, and you can study it, and you can analyse it, and there's the thoughts, through Thought Bubble. There we go, voice bubble. So it's a very, very good way of narrative storytelling, which people are able to kind of hook into. I mean, very popular with our members at the Bradford site is manga. Manga's hugely popular as well, again, because it's quite often a very stylised approach, and it's a way of expressing as well. So it's a very good way of kind of like tapping in to narrative and to storytelling.
I think it gives people, it's a focus, and it's also an escape as well. A lot of people I work with enjoy sort of comics and comic book films, and that culture because it's a way of expressionism, and it's a way of keeping people sort of their minds on one subject, and it can be really beneficial. I know people who like to draw their own comics as well, so it's a way of amusing the imagination, and sort of helps them. I think it helps people relieve stress as well, and it's fun.
Today, yeah, it's been really nice because I work as a workshop facilitator 4 days a week, and I've seen a lot of our members here today, and they've really enjoyed the event. It's just nice to see them out accessing like activities that everybody else comes to and feel relaxed and enjoy the experience.
No, it was primary school, because they used to do these special kind of book day things where you kind of just put your name down for the kind of book you want, and then like a few weeks you go down to the to a certain classroom and pick it up. And I remember picking up I think it was an old comic. I can't remember which comic it was, but it was a very enjoyable one. And my brother picked up actually got rewarded a comic book. It was a Marvel one about about the character of Hercules. And just recently, a friend of mine got me a comic for my 21st. It was a series called The Strain. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's actually it's a bit of a zombie-esque kind of film, but it's very unique because because I have a certain attraction to a kind of surreal kind of horror kind of thing. Really, that's kind of my area of interest, really.
When I was a kid, I was really big on Marvel and DC. As I got older, I don't really read comics as much anymore. I mean, I'll go see comic books. I'll go see the comic book adaptions whenever they're on. You know, some are good, some are not, but otherwise, you know, they're entertaining enough. Some of them are, you know, for a day out and everything.
We just finished a project for the that few months ago. It was a sort of Godzilla type big monster fighting in a big city type film. It took about 10 months to film, and we're currently doing little projects, doing like stop motion projects and some animation. One of our guys is doing a drawn animation comic as well, so we've got lots of things going on. So there's a lot of that. We're doing we're trying to do a 2-month project it's like a showcase of people's work. So some of it's stop motion, some of it's using CGI, and some of it's drawn, and some of it's actually like a music video as well. So there's quite a lot of there's a lot of different multimedia things being used in it. Yeah.
Members that we support will have sensory difficulties, so it could be sensitivity to sound, so noise, or struggle with crowds. So it's building up their tolerance, but also letting them have that opportunity if they need some quiet time to go and sit in a quiet space. We've got the Bubs Lounge downstairs, somewhere that's got darker lighting so they can just relax.
As well, which we're in at the moment, hence me speaking a little bit low, which has art that people can take part in, and a very therapeutic aspect of playing around with Lego.
Not really, no.
Nope.
Maybe I probably have encountered characters in things that I can't remember off the top of my head that have had something similar, or some kind of effect which would give the impression of that. But I've never actually for that encountered a character who in that setting has been diagnosed with, say, Asperger's or autism or something within the spectrum.
Yeah, that's a big point, because there's a lot of characters who are written like they're autistic,
But they're not.
but they won't ever be told. You know, no one would go like, "Oh, they're autistic."
That would be, maybe you said things you'd like to see a story told about. That would be something. I think.
Yeah, it's a voice which I think would be really interesting. And I've got a few characters who I like. I base on you.
You said this. Yeah.
Yeah, I like them. They're great. They have all your mannerisms, and I think all your mannerisms are really interesting.
I never noticed that I have mannerisms until I do.
Well, I mean, it's quite varied, really, because I've got friends who have autism as well. Some that I didn't even know had it until I got to meet them, and we're all very different, really. When it's as above the spectrum as it is, well, like I say, it's different. But like I say, it's kind of like different for each person, really. But I mean, another person I really admire is Paddy Considine. He's got Asperger's, and he's done a lot of he's been involved with a lot of my favourite films, mostly with Shane Meadows, like Dead Man's Shoes, and film he directed a few years ago, Trianosaur. So he's very much an inspiration for it. And again, I wouldn't have thought by seeing him in interviews and all.
There's been graphic novels that have done that. There's one that's written by a father and daughter, the young daughter being on the autistic spectrum, and that was done from both of their perspectives about them kind of understand their relationship and understand the world around them. So I think it's a very good way of exploring that, exploring sometimes some very big themes as well. I think it's great that there's more characters kind of like out there, and sometimes you get it unexpectedly. I went to see the latest Predator film, The Predator, which outlined the fact that there was kind of like an autistic subplot in that, and there was a young character, and it's viewed as the fact that maybe autism is kind of like the next evolutionary stage. So there's good and sometimes bad approaches, and I think we're sometimes getting away from kind of like the tradition of kind of like Rain Man. And then there's also those characters where it's never said or stated, but the assumption is there, like Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory, or even the way Benedict Cumberbatch interprets Sherlock Holmes. I mean, there is, kind of like the outlay of perhaps introducing, more autistic characters within that. There's at a young age now, there's an autistic character within Sesame Street. So maybe it's kind of acclimatizing people of all ages to kind of like what autism is, how it can impact, and how it presents. So it's appealing to all ages, I guess.
I've been in the multimedia workshop for about 2 years, and we've gotten on to making these like quite big films, and it's a good way for people with autism especially, to sort of use multimedia to improve on their social skills and get to know each other better and work as part of a team. A lot of them have been in there. There's 7 members in there now. And they've got to know each other really well, and they know the staff really well. So it's a really good way of sort of subtly building on their social skills, because they're using their talents in art and in filming and in sound recording, and they're helping each other out with the projects. And the end result is this one big film that everyone's added towards. And they've grown in confidence, and even if they haven't realised it, they've become much more confident and outgoing people because of it. So that's the main aim of the workshop, which is really nice.
Today I've been looking around a lot of the different comic books that have been created within Thought Bubble. In the tents outside that kind of feature all the different comic book artists who are featuring their work there. I've taken a real interest in the stories they have to create, especially the ones that have a bit of a gothy kind of element in their artwork. There was this one called Wendigo Woods. That looks very interesting, because I'm quite familiar with the mythology of Wendigos, so I kind of felt like there'd be a lot of kind of surreal sci-fi gore-esque horror into that. I mean, I'm not all about that concept completely. I mean, I do kind of just alternate, but that's my favourite that I'm drawn to. But what I enjoy about Thought Bubble is just the variety of unique art styles and stories. Really.
Well, I recognise the artwork for what Luke's done. It was in were you in a graphic novel club, weren't you?
I was. Back in high school.
Back in high school.
Nothing big.
It was in a graphic novel club, so I recognise all the sketching, and so I'm quite used to it all, really. I do remember with the Gothic guy said it was based on, what did he say it was based on? The Wicker Man, and I'm old enough to remember the film with Edward Woodward, so what he based his work on. So yeah, it's impressive. The artwork's impressive. I'm impressed with the talent, really, of you know, with the concepts, because they're all. So my big bugbear about film and things like this is there's a lot of copying and a lack of originality, and I think that's what these places bring, new ideas. You know what I mean? So we might actually get some original films to watch.
Arthur Dent from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's why I've got my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tablet, don't panic. I've also got a towel. Don't forget your towel if you go and travel in the galaxy. I've also got a mouse, but I've left it behind. But they're the most intelligent creatures in the universe, as we know.
I think it's been a really lovely weekend, always is. And I just want to thank everyone for taking part, and particularly thank you to the Thought Bubble team for allowing us to come along again. So thank you.